Who was responsible for the destruction of the old summer palace? In the year 1860 AD, after the old summer palace was burned down by the Anglo-French forces, the garden was largely destroyed, but not completely eradicated. At that time, a part of the garden was still preserved. In the 12th year of the Tongji reign, the emperor dispatched ministers to organize and summarize the remaining scenic spots in the old summer palace. The Imperial Household Department issued a survey report to the court, informing that more than 10 pavilions and towers, including the Quarren Dagong, Zibishanfang, Yuyue Yuanfei, and Zhengjuesi, remained intact. Additionally, there were plenty of valuable flowers and trees, artificial rocks, roads, bridges, and garden walls. At that time, as long as the old summer palace was repaired, this huge garden could still be revitalized. Unfortunately, the Qing government was already overwhelmed by foreign colonizers, so how could it spare the energy to repair the old summer palace? In the year 1900 AD, the Eight-Nation Alliance captured Beijing, and once again, foreign invaders had malicious intentions towards the old summer palace. However, some Chinese bandits also set their sights on this wealthy land. As a result, except for the protection of the Zikunyuan Palace Gate by local residents, which remained undamaged, all the remaining buildings were demolished by bandits and sold in Qingatown. Those precious ancient trees also suffered. They were uprooted simply because people wanted to make furniture, and even the wooden stakes used as building foundations were not spared. After this disaster, the vitality of the old summer palace was greatly damaged. In the decades after the fall of the Qing dynasty, the garden continued to be subjected to successive rounds of looting, each time leaving it even more dilapidated. As the trees gradually became scarce in the garden, bandits and warlords turned their attention to the stone materials such as square bricks, tiles, and hanbyu carvings. These stones were used to build private gardens and tombs for bureaucrats, and even the tiger skin stone walls were used to repair roads. Every year, hundreds of trucks would come in succession to the old summer palace, transporting large quantities of stone materials out. The local government also regarded the old summer palace as a waste garden, and decided to contribute the available materials inside for other purposes. Therefore, bronze chelin, Danbi stone, Huabiao, Wenyuanj stele, and Lanting stele were successively moved to the Summer Palace, Yangjing University, Beijing Library, Zhongshan Park, Zhengyangmen, and Xinhua Gate. In the year 1928 AD, the stone materials of the Grand Water Works site were used to build the Suiyuan Martyrs Memorial. Around the year 1940 AD, the small hills in the old summer palace were dug away, and the rivers and lakes were filled with flat land. Farmers began to plant vegetables and fruits in the garden. Later, farmers once again flooded into the old summer palace, further transforming the garden into farmland. At this time, all the remaining buildings in the old summer palace were destroyed, the garden walls were also overturned, and even the only ancient tree in the flower god temple was cut down. During the Cultural Revolution period, the old summer palace suffered another blow. By the year 1975 AD, various factories and farms were also moved into the garden. Fortunately, a year later, the Chinese government began to protect the old summer palace and established a management office to start the restoration and renovation of the scenic area. On June 29, 1988, several important scenic spots in the old summer palace were basically restored and opened to the public, and it waited for this moment for a full 120 years.